We want to talk more about those temperatures that are expected to drop, a story that we're following closely for you this week. ERCOT, the organization that manages our state's power grid, is monitoring the potential for a blast of bone-chilling cold air that's expected to settle in across the state next week. In the last 24 hours, they issued a special message. Joining me now to discuss this is Daniel Cohan with Rice University. Thank you so much for being here. You just looked at the forecast. What is ERCOT thinking, and how does this compare to the winter storm of February 2021?
Right. Fortunately, it's not looking nearly as severe as Winter Storm Uri as the February 2021 freeze. What it's looking a lot like is the December 2022 freeze, sometimes called Winter Storm Elliott, when the grid had plenty of power to go around, but when ERCOT has said if we got weather as cold as that, we would run some risk of having shortages. At the beginning of the season, they said there would be a 1 in 6 chance that we might have some temporary, small-scale shortfalls if that level of a winter storm occurred. It's looking like the weather forecasts are putting us at about that level of a storm for next Tuesday morning.
So ERCOT issued a message, an OCN. What is an OCN?
Right. It's an operating conditions notice. That means that they're on alert. They're watching how conditions evolve. We're still early on because it's really not until next Monday and Tuesday when conditions might get tight. It means that they're not, at this point, taking any action or issuing any emergency. There's a number of levels of emergency alerts that they could go to when they really would take action to draw down demand and bring in new resources. We're not at that stage. We're in a watch and wait sort of condition now.
Right, and you mentioned those other stages. This is the first of 4 stages of ERCOT's messaging. What are the other levels, and when are those messages issued?
Right, so when the margin, when the buffer that we have of how much supply we have compared to how much demand shrinks below a certain point, at that point they can go to different levels of emergency alert. They can call up additional resources. They can ask some of their biggest industrial customers to dial down demand. At this point, it's not clear whether we'll need any of those, and it's looking like most likely we'll get through the storm fine, but we're still, 6 days out of this storm, where it's still something we need to watch the conditions, see just how severe this winter storm is going to be.
And we've got probably 6 weeks, maybe a few more than that, of winter here in Southeast Texas. So far, what is the difference between this year compared to what we saw in 2021 with the extremes?
Right. So it's going to be maybe 10 degrees warmer than it was in Uri. It's going to be warmer. It's not going to be as severe as that 2021 storm. It's going to be more like 2 Christmases ago, that Winter Storm Elliott. And but since then, the state has grown. We've had a lot of industrial customers, data centers, so on. So the demand has grown. We've added a lot of solar farms that have made it a lot easier to get through the summer heat waves. We just got through a record hot summer without any severe conditions, but that solar doesn't help us overnight in the winter with these deep freeze conditions, and we haven't added any of the other resources, the fossil fuel resources or mini wind farms that might help us get through these winter storms. And so it puts us the potential to have things get tight when a freeze like this comes through.
Yeah, the dynamics are certainly different when you're looking at summertime conditions versus what we deal with in the winter, and they were leaning heavily on wind and solar in the summer. Any news with ERCOT? Will ERCOT ever connect with another grid?
Definitely something that should happen. That's put us at a lot of risk, that we operate as an island, that we don't have that ability to bring in power from other states, that we lose the ability to sell our surplus power to other states. There are a couple of projects that are trying to build transmission lines, one to the east, one to the west, that are still probably a few years away from coming online, and it would take several of those projects to really make us less vulnerable when these freezes come through.
It's certainly something that we, of course, will continue to stay on top of, and customers certainly want their questions answered as well.
Right.
Daniel Cohan, Rice University, appreciate it. Thank you so much.